Yeah, yeah. Nice beard.
Oh, thank you. It's called old.
Old? You ain't old, dude.
Yeah, I am.
No.
I'm
Oh,
49.
yeah. See, you're a pup.
Oh my
You're nine
God.
years younger than you're 9 years younger than I am.
What?
Yeah.
Henry, I had no idea, man.
Yeah. 58, dude.
Wow, you look great.
So do you, man.
That's such a horrible compliment. It's like, oh, you're 58? Wow, you look great.
Yeah.
But you should look miserable.
Right. But you know what? I'll take it. No big deal.
How are you, man? Are you in Tennessee?
I am in Tennessee. Yes. Been here doing nothing since my last real show was February 29.
That was your last show?
Pretty much. I mean, I've done a handful, a couple virtuals. We tried a few other, real shows and third capacity, that kind of stuff. I was in Birmingham last weekend. We actually did okay, but it's
What
just
was it? We're at the this what's it called?
Stardome.
Stardome?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stardome. Yeah, not
Oh,
a yeah.
wow.
So we did a third. The Stardome's different than like a normal theater because they actually have tables, so you can
Yeah.
space those out.
Hmm.
The theaters is where I've been getting slammed because that's what I normally do.
Hmm.
And if one couple buys two tickets, I got to go 6 feet around them. And I lose 20 seats. It's crazy.
Oh, that sucks, man. That really sucks, man. And I feel bad that this is what it's come to, that we have to wait. We got to wait for whatever it is that they're trying to do. But I'm so confused by this whole process because it's like, and I say this every week, and everyone seems to get mad at me when I say it, but I don't understand how Target has 1,000 people touching everything barehanded, and that's okay. But yet, for some reason, we can't open a theater and do a show.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they here in Nashville, they shut Zany's has been doing shows 25 people capacity because that's what the mayor laid down the law. And then we
20.
found out that that's not the case. So
Unbelievable, man.
yeah,
You guys, I just want you to know, Brian, you already know who we're talking to. Andre, this man right here is one of my inspirations. This is the guy I used to watch on A&E Evening at the Improv, eating Domino's pizza, eating it all by myself in the living room, just getting inspired, going, yo, there's an Asian doing this comedy thing, and his accent is thicker than any cowboy I've ever heard.
that's right. I
And
tell you.
I loved it. Oh, and you had that Brian Regan mullet.
Hey, I had there was no hair products. That was pure mullet.
That was pure mullet.
Pure mullet.
Henry, can I ask you a question? What ethnicity are you?
Korean.
Yeah, I knew you were. I didn't want to assume. But
It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Korean. My parents immigrated here almost 70 years ago.
Isn't
So
that
I'm
crazy?
yeah, so I'm considered first generation, right? I
That's
never get that.
beautiful.
I never get that right. But yeah, it's great. Our parents.
I never get that right. I don't even
I,
know what to say.
I don't. I just go. I was born here. How's that? I was
Yeah,
born here.
yeah. I was born here.
My
I
parents
always
weren't,
say
and
that.
I was. So figure
Yeah.
that one out.
So they came to the States
They
from
came to
Korea to
yeah.
start the family with you, or were you born in
No,
the
no, no,
States?
no. I was born here. They came 70 years ago. They weren't married. They got married in Asheville, North Carolina. 2 years later, they had my oldest sister. Then they had another daughter. Then they had me years after that. And they didn't speak a
That's
lick of English when they came. So they would have to record a lecture and listen to it 8, 10 times to get one lecture. And then one generation later, I'm cutting class. So,
is that crazy or what, man?
yeah.
And it's
That,
funny because I grew up with nothing but Koreans. That's why when I saw you, it was like it was amazing. Like it's hard for me to explain now because now you have the internet and people are all connected. You know,
right,
the
right,
World Wide Web has connected everyone. We have Korean friends now. You know what I
right,
mean? But
right.
back in the day in 1983, and I'm going to a school with Korean friends with immigrant parents that don't speak English, but they own Korean restaurants. You know what I mean? And they're going to school. And now we're watching white TV, basically. I hate to say it like that, but back then it was very white or black. You know what I mean? You had 3 channels.
Right.
It was hard to find just an Asian.
Exactly.
So when I saw Henry Cho get up on A&E Evening at the Improv with an accent,
right,
and crushing, you don't even understand how much of an inspiration that was for me, for being a half white, half Asian kid that was struggling to find an identity, struggling to find something to inspire me to become a comedian. And you were that guy, man. I said that to you in person, though, when I met you at JFL. I think I said that to you.
Yeah, just for laughs on the street. And you know what? You gave me props.
Yes.
And that's the cool thing about the other Asian comedians. I like Ken Jeong said, man, I would never even have tried stand up if you weren't doing it, because I never would have thought that we were allowed to do that. And I said, yeah, I was supposed to be a doctor or play the cello.
or a doctor playing the cello.
Right. Those were my 2 choices. Those were my 2 choices. And I started doing stand-up, and my, it freaked my parents out, obviously.
Yeah.
They immigrated, they worked hard, and I was supposed to be a doctor, and I dropped out of college to do stand-up. And they're like, my dad, he couldn't grasp it, couldn't understand it.
That's great. So Henry, you went to college out of high
yes.
school. And what college did you go to?
I went to University of Tennessee. That's the Orange.
Heck yeah, man. Peyton Manning country, baby.
That's right. I was born and raised in Knoxville, so that's where I went to school.
Wow.
And then I was in my 6th year because I had a bunch of majors. I enjoyed college. And
one more question before you continue.
Yeah.
What year are you in college right now? So people put this in perspective.
1986 was my last year in college.
So that means you did 6 years. You started in 1980.
Right.
So if everyone could just imagine, it's just after the 70s.
Yes.
And you are this young Korean man with a fucking thick cowboy accent.
Right.
Tennessee accent.
Right.
Parents don't speak a lick of English, maybe broken.
Right.
Very successful business people. No internet.
None.
No internet.
None.
3 channels. Cable just started. Just started. HBO is a premium channel. What you do for Netflix now, that's what HBO was back then. And it was like you had to be special to have HBO.
Yeah.
And if you had an HBO special, that was even more special because it wasn't that many that they gave.
No.
So see, like, what inspired you, man?
What
made you want to be a comedian? Like, I can only think of 2. Pat Morita, and I don't even know if he inspired you directly.
No.
He did stand-up, but I don't think people really saw that he was doing it.
No, never saw him do that. Here's the crazy thing.
Who else made you love the stand-up game?
Joe, here's the thing. I watched Johnny Carson growing up, so I saw all the guys go on there. I always thought that was something really cool. And it was Steve Martin and Billy Crystal. Because my buddies go, why are you trying to do stand-up? I said, well, I think I can do stand-up to get into acting. Look what Billy Crystal did. Yeah. Look what Steve Martin's done. And they're like, but you're not funny. I go, I know, but I really think I can do this. And they said, well, yeah, you always kind of figure stuff out. So I joined a competition at the Funny Bone in Knoxville, 1986. And I was number 13. I called down there. They said, we're only doing 12. You're the first alternate. I said, all right. So on Friday, I get a call, and they said, hey, somebody canceled, so you're in. Be down here Monday at 7 o'clock. I went, all right. So me and my college roommates are driving to the club, and I'd never been in a comedy club and never done anything. And my buddy, so my buddies are going, you really doing this? I said, yeah. They go, if you're going to do it, tell the story about this. Remember when this happened? Such and such. So I go down there, and I thought it was 12 guys like me, but it wasn't. It was a Showtime Funniest Person in Tennessee competition.
Oh, man.
So I watched the first 4 guys go up, and these are middle acts. And I'm like, oh, man. I told my buddies, I go, look, we're here, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try not to embarrass us all, and then I'm going to never talk about this again. And I went up on stage and I destroyed. I got a standing ovation and I won that night.
Wow.
So
What?
yeah. So this is a Monday night. I walk off stage.
You never did an open mic. You never did
Nothing.
anything.
Nothing. Did nothing. So
You just went up and told a story.
I just went up there and started telling stories, and people were laughing and all this stuff. And I went, all right. So then Jerry Kubak, who owned the Funny Bone chain back then, there were 12. He was there because it was a big Showtime deal. And he goes, hey, how long have you been doing comedy? And I said, well, that's it. He goes, no way. My buddies are like, square, man. He's never been on stage before. And Jerry goes, yeah. And Jerry goes, I need an MC this week. Do you want to do that? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, you go up and do 15 minutes and introduce the other comedians. I said, I don't have 15 minutes. I just did 5. He goes, well, you do that 5, you're going to be fine. So I said, all right. So he hired me. I started working on Wednesday. And all day in class on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was just writing jokes. So I dropped out of college on Friday. And that was over 34 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Story, man.
How'd you do that week? That's my question.
Well, here's the thing. So John Hinton from Living Single.
Yeah, Living Single.
John Hinton was the middle act. So the first night went.
I want everyone to know John Hinton is a beast, man. I saw him headline in Vegas. So imagine that being your middle act.
Yeah. He was the middle act. Mark Klein, who does a lot of corporates now, he was filthy back then. He was the headliner, Road Dogg.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any of these terms, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and I'll never get that first Wednesday night. John Hinton comes up to me and goes, have you really only been on stage since like Monday? And I go, yeah. He goes, I got to see this. So I go, dude, I know I'm supposed to do 15. I don't have 15. It's going to be more like 5. He goes, yeah, they told me. You'd be okay. So I went up and I had written some more jokes. So I did 8 or 9 minutes. And I introduced John. And as he came up, he looked at me and goes, what the? And I go, yeah. He goes, we'll talk after. And he goes, and so he went on stage going, people, you don't understand. That's his second time ever doing this.
What?
And so John helped me a lot. He told me how to, he goes, you're just telling stories. I go, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm just telling stories and I'm making them funny. He goes, but some of those are jokes you've written. I go, yeah, I wrote those this week. So by late show Friday night, I had 15 minutes. And then shortly after that, I worked with Bill Engvall, who helped me a lot. And then 6 months later, Jerry Seinfeld's working in Atlanta, and his opening act got sick. And I've been clean since day one.
Yeah.
And so I was the only clean comedian they knew in the region. This is 1986. There weren't thousands of comedians.
But
So
there are 1,000 of comedy clubs, though.
Right. So then they asked me to go work with Jerry. So I did. And Seinfeld's like, what are you doing next week? And I go, I got nothing. He goes, well, come with me. I need somebody to come to Charleston, South Carolina with me. All right. So then he goes back to L.A. and tells Shanley and Leno and Larry Miller and all these guys. So all of a sudden I'm touring with the 5 top comedians in the world, road comedians. And so, but I worked everywhere. I mean, I started working immediately, but I worked everywhere. I did creative entertainment in Meridian, Mississippi and Ozark, Alabama and Chicken Wire gigs. Zach and Mac, the big African-American comedy duo, they took me to St. Louis with them, and we did the Chitlin Tour, which is a bunch of black clubs.
Wow.
And
that's back with Bernie Mac and everybody.
Bernie Mac and the guys. And the crazy thing is, the shows don't start till midnight. I'm the only non-African-American, and they're throwing me on stage like at 2 a.m. So
at what point of this story, Henry, does it become 1987?
That's hilarious. Yeah. So
that's a dream come true, though. Like you literally, you lived what I thought in my head was going to happen the first night I did open mic.
Right.
I remember I remember being at a sports store because I was the stock guy that stocked all the sporting goods. And I remember writing down my set because I was doing this thing called Star Mania. And I remember ripping half of the set out of my notebook because I was like, this is too long. Not knowing that it was I remember I just ripped 4 seconds out. Like it was, it didn't matter. I think I wrote maybe a minute and a half worth of jokes.
Yeah, you ripped 4 out of your 80 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and I remember in my head, I was reading it over and over all day, Henry. And in my head, I was envisioning like a manager on stage picking up the phone from the curtain while I'm destroying on stage. Going, you got to see this kid.
Right.
Call Leno, call Carson, call him now. I got the hottest thing right now in Vegas. Let's get this kid. Didn't fucking happen.
No.
First thing out of my mouth, it was complete, just nothing but heckling. It was silence. My mouth went to chalk. The biggest laugh of my night, Henry, my first night was I did this joke about condoms. Duh, it was dirty, right? I did dirty jokes. So I did this thing about condoms that got no laughs at the beginning, right? And then my mouth started getting all sticky. My tongue was sticking to the roof of my mouth. And then I go, hey you guys, you ever your mouth gets so dry your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth? And the lady sitting at the bar at the end smoking a cigarette, she's like, put a condom on it. Crushes.
Yeah, she got the biggest laugh.
And it was my callback. That bitch. That was my joke.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, opposite of you, Henry. You first night you crush. You moved
It was crazy.
On, you quit school. Now you're on tour with Jerry Seinfeld. And now at what point do you make the move to LA and start doing the A&E evening at the Improv? Like when was that? Like
so late in 1988. So I've been doing comedy a year and a half.
Oh my God, that pisses me off so much.
Anyway, so Bill Engvall was living in LA and he said, hey, you got to come out and, we'll get you some spots maybe. So I did a spot at the Ice House and I come off stage and a guy from Robert Guillaume, remember him? He played Benson on Soap and then had his own thing. So he comes. So a producer comes up and goes, hey, I'm a producer for Robert Guillaume's show, and we need a warm-up guy. Would you like to do the warm-up? And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about. And he goes, well, you just do jokes before the show, and, when we're changing sets, you talk to the crowd and keep them engaged. And I go, when is this? He goes, well, you could come out on Monday and walk through it. And I go, my plane's leaving Sunday. I won't be here. And he goes, oh, you don't live here? And I said, no. And so Engvall's standing there the whole time. And Bill's like going, I live here. I'm here. I'm in town. And so the guy goes, well, we'll be in touch. Let me know when you come back in town.
Right.
Here's my card, all that stuff. He walks off and Engvall goes, you got to move here.
Yeah.
So I moved. I did 90 colleges in 1988. 90.
Wow. And this is, by the way, this is 90 high-paying colleges, correct?
Correct.
They were paying big in the 80s and early 90s.
Yes. So I did a NACA conference.
Woo! And you booked it, baby.
And I booked 110 colleges.
Wow. Yes, bro.
Yeah.
That's how many? Say it again. 100 and what?
110.
Woo.
So I did 90 in 1988 because my plan was I was going to bank that money and move to LA.
Dude, you could have bought a hospital for your parents.
I could have.
And I could have so happy.
I could have made myself a doctor.
Yes, honorary.
So I saved my money. I moved to LA in January, and then I got lucky. I got on the Improv, and it ended up being a Brillstein showcase.
Wow.
But I was going on at the end. So
you're really making me sick with this story.
No, and then did you bomb? When did you bomb, Henry?
Never.
I'm still waiting on that.
Hilarious.
I'm still waiting on that.
Wow.
But I heard it's awful. But anyway.
Put a condom on it.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, David Spade, who just signed with Brillstein, he was on the showcase too, and I've known Spade for years. So he and I are hanging out, and he goes, "Hey man, you finally moved here?" And I go, "Yeah." And so he goes, "Are you with Brillstein?" I said, "No, I'm with Rick Rogers, me and Ingval and Rosie O'Donnell." And so I go on the showcase, and it was crazy. So this was like on a Friday night or something. So by the very next week, I had meetings at every network and every studio, and I just really didn't know what I was doing. I'd go into Viacom, Universal, NBC, ABC, CBS, and they're all like going, "We got to do something with you. We got to do something with you." And I said, "That's fine." I said, "But I've never acted before, so I don't know what we're talking about here." And they were saying, "Well, maybe we can do this." And I finally just said, "Look, you're trying to make me a fish out of water. You have to understand, I don't have any water because I don't go 100% with Asian people because I was born here and I'm from Tennessee, and I don't go 100% with white people because I'm Asian.
Yeah.
So you're trying to create a fish out of water. I'm already a fish out of water everywhere I go." And so,
hey, Henry, can I interrupt you?
yeah, man,
That would have been the show right there, man.
that was it.
That's
So,
amazing.
I've
Hey,
had,
man, the only two Asian people I know are my parents.
right. And we tried that. So, I've had 5 deals.
Yeah,
And,
of course you did. Because you wouldn't have anything less.
well, I needed 7. But anyway. But so speaking of Pat Morita, I had a show as me and Pat Morita. This was 1990, maybe 91.
Uh-huh.
And Pat was not speaking broken English. I was adamant. No one on the show was going to speak broken English.
Yeah.
And then, but ABC was just adamant. Somebody's got to be.
What year was this?
1991, 1991.
91, all right.
So, and Margaret, I brought Margaret in. She didn't even come in, but I had her stuff. I brought her in as a possibility to be my little sister,
No.
my younger sister.
Yeah.
So, because she's the only Asian comedian, woman that I knew.
Yeah.
Right.
It was
At the
just you
time.
and her, by the way.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought you guys were related. Thank you very little.
Yeah. When she started out, she used to tell people she was my sister.
Yeah.
And I told her, I go, you know what? If it was flipped around, I would have done the same thing. So don't worry.
Yeah.
I would have used you, no problem.
Yeah.
But so ABC really wanted Pat to speak broken English. And so I walked away from the deal. And then
Oh, you did?
Wow.
Yeah, I walked away.
Yes.
You, bro.
So that actually became the show Margaret did about a year and a half later.
No way.
American Girl?
All-American Boy was going to became All-American Girl?
Yes.
Wow.
And they had B.D. Wong and those guys, and there's broken English. The parents spoke broken English, and it crushed me because I could. But I'll tell you something. Do you remember Key Luke? Key Luke, famous Asian actor. He was the blind guy on Kung Fu.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
We did a big tribute, probably late 80s, early 90s. And he came up to me. It was right before he passed away. He came up to me, and I mean, he was an old guy, but he grabbed my arm, and he was serious as a heart attack. And he said, "You can't give in to the Hollywood. You can't give in to these people." And I go, "What do you mean? I don't even know what you're talking about." He goes, "You can say no to all the crap they're going to throw at you because you're a comedian. You don't have to wait tables. You don't have to, do odd jobs. You're a comedian. You have to say no." And I'm like, "What? Okay." And then Pat Morita told me, he goes, "Henry, they're going to offer you all this stuff. You got to turn it down. You have to turn it down." So when I turned down that first TV deal, Pat and I were out in the parking lot, and Pat was still attached. And he called me the very next day and said, "They've changed this whole show, and now 3 of us are going to be speaking broken English. 3 of us."
Wow.
And I went, "Walk away." He goes, I got to walk away."
Yeah.
So that became my reputation in Hollywood early, that I wasn't going to do that stuff. And so we pretty much, every deal I had, there was no broken English, nothing derogatory toward Asians.
Yeah.
If anyone was going to say anything with an Asian accent, it was going to be me mimicking my dad.
Hey.
and even I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
But my dad's character was going to pop in, and he doesn't speak broken English. He just has an Asian accent.
Yeah.
He's
Right,
fluent.
right.
He just has an accent.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to tell these people, I go, it's like if he was from France
Yeah.
and he spoke French with an accent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they go, but he can't say that sentence clearly. He has to break it up. I go, no, he's fluent.
Yeah.
They couldn't understand it. So
Yeah. I think they pretend that they don't understand because it's quite frustrating.
yes,
It really is, man. I do my mom on stage, and it's almost like, oh yeah, it's very for Filipinos. For years, I would get that until the
Right.
special dropped, and then they were all like, oh no, it's just a mom with an accent.
right,
It's a fucking mom. I'm
right.
like, yeah, that's what I've been saying, assholes.
Yeah, they don't get it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they know, but they just
I think they love to pretend they don't know.
right.
I honestly do. I honestly think it's psychological. There's no way you can actually hear that. I always compared it to like when I do my mom, right? I become my mom. I become my mom's character, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I don't want to shove Filipino specific. I don't want to be specific for only Filipinos to understand. I'm
Right.
gonna be my mom, and everyone's
Right.
gonna get it. There's no difference from me becoming my mom or when Eddie Murphy does Uncle Gus.
Right.
Hmm.
No difference.
There's no difference.
No.
Uncle Gus is speaking English. He's just got a little twang to it.
Right.
My mom's speaking English. She's just got a little twang to it. There's no difference. They're
Right.
both characters. So why is it that Hollywood understands Uncle Gus but doesn't understand Auntie Josie? So I stuck to my guns too, man. I
You
just
have
kept
to.
doing it. And when Netflix said, no, I don't think middle America will get it, I shot it myself. And then they were like, oh, okay, yeah, they get it. They get it.
Yeah. Yeah. We messed up. There we go.
Yeah. And no
Yeah.
disrespect to Netflix. I love you guys.
They're the best. They're the best. You were smart to not do Joe's show. Netflix.
No, I think
People there are genius.
I think what it is, Henry, is, unfortunately, we just got to say it, like, the time just wasn't right. You were ahead of your time.
Way ahead.
You're way ahead, bro. You're 34 years ahead.
Oh,
You know what I
trust me. I tell my kids that. I said, do you understand if I started 5 years ago,
Oh,
the way I started
yeah.
with the way things are, I go, you guys would be sick of seeing me because I'd be
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah. 100%.
But it's dope to be in that position where it's so early, and for you to have that type of conviction when there's nobody ahead of you.
Yeah.
Well,
That's commendable, man. I really respect that.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
something from the outside,
Thank you.
Henry, on that?
yeah.
I think your attitude was a combination of two things. Koreans don't fucking play.
No.
All right. I grew up with nothing but Koreans. I can name
Right.
all of my friends. They are all Koreans. I had more Korean friends than I did Filipino friends. And then two, I think you had a little bit of that South in you, bro. You had some Tennessee in you.
Yeah.
And that's a wicked combination, man. So
Yeah. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And also, like, I got into this so fast.
yeah.
And it was all a blur, and they didn't know what to do with me. Shayna Landsberg was at NBC Development,
Uh-huh.
and I had a meeting with Brandon Tartikoff,
Jesus.
who was so great.
Yeah.
And so the week before my meeting with Brandon Tartikoff, I get a call from Linda Bloodworth Thomason to come do an episode of Designing Women. So
Wow.
I've been in town 6 months.
That's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's so
So-
crazy, dude. Yeah.
so
now you're on Designing Women, only the biggest TV show of
It
the
was-
80s.
Right. So Linda goes, hey, I saw you on like the Tonight Show or something. I just wrote a role for you. Will you do it? And I go, well, I got to tell you, I've never acted in my life. And she goes, I don't care. Just come on. So I show up at the table read on Monday, and, I have to tell everybody and the director, I go, look, I've never done this, so don't pretend I know anything. And Delta Burke and Dixie Carter, they're great, and Annie Potts, and they're just walking me through. And so we're doing rehearsals and have my mark on the stage, and came time to shoot. And the first scene, I'm sitting down, so it didn't matter. My second scene, I'm supposed to walk in, and Delta and Dixie are standing there. No one told me they're going to remove my mark for the cameras. No one told me.
Yeah.
So I walk out, and my first line is, "Where's my mark?" And they go, "Cut!" And Delta goes, "Oh my goodness, we'll help you, Henry." Okay, so let's just be natural. We'll stand here, and you walk up, and the normal space. You don't have to do TV space. Just stand like you would if we were really, having a real conversation. I said, "All right." And as I started to walk off, she goes, "You really didn't know the marks are gone now?" I go, "I had no idea. No one told me." So I finished that show. We shot it, and Delta Burke was awesome. She's like,
Yeah, she was.
she goes, "You know what?" She goes, "Henry, why don't you just show up next week? Matter of fact, I'll come pick you up, and she'll have to write you in." And I go, "Well, I can't." I go, I have a meeting with Brandon Tartikoff on Monday. And she's like, "You're going to get your own show, right?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe. I don't know." And so I go in, and I'll never get Shayna Landsberg. She goes, "So I told Brandon that you're coming in." And she goes, "Henry Cho," he goes, "Is that like a Asian name?" She goes, "Yeah, well, he's Korean." And he said, "You're bringing in a Korean guy to be the lead of a TV show?" And Shayna goes, "Get that out of your brain. I want you to think cowboy. Wait till he walks in this room." So I walked in the room, and all I heard was Brandon Tartikoff go, "Oh my God." And he goes, "Are you for real?" And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, man." And so Shane and I did a scene together that I'd written.
Yeah.
Brandon really liked it. And he was so candid and honest with me. He goes, I don't know what to do with this. I really don't. He goes, "I get it. I don't know who's going to get it, but I really don't know what to do with this." And so that I ran into that all the time. No one knew what to do with. They didn't know because they couldn't. There was no way they were going to let an Asian guy lead a show in 1991.
Yeah, man.
1990 wasn't going to happen. My last deal was CBS 07 to 09, and then the writer's strike happened, so we didn't do that. Craig Ferguson was my executive producer. I mean, we were set.
Yeah.
Golden. Writer's strike happens. They extended a year. And then I told Hollywood, I go, "Look, I lost my window. My kids are too old now. I can't live here. So I'm gone for a decade." And they're like, everybody's like, "What?" I go, "I'll see you in like 2019, 2020. And they're like, "What?" And so I did. I totally dropped out of the game. There was a time in the early 20 teens, maybe 2011. The networks were trying to go to diversify.
Yeah.
So they went after Keenan Wayans and Damon. And I saw Damon. He goes, "Hey, they were asking where you were." So my management contacted, and the networks were like, "So what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm not doing anything. I got like 8 more years till I can do anything." And they're like, "What?" And I go, I'm not. You can offer me whatever you want. I'm not moving my family for 22 weeks to shoot 22. I'm not. And then, as you know, everything's changed.
Yeah.
So now, with streaming and Netflix and Amazon and all these things, I got approached last summer to develop another show. And me and my buddy Jim Hope, who wrote for Lopez and Titus, him and I have been friends forever. He and I wrote a script, and these people paid us to write it, which was great.
Yeah.
And then COVID's hit, so we haven't been able to do anything. But all I want to do is 12, and we're going to shoot it in Atlanta. So,
So you are going to shoot it.
Yeah, we're going to shoot the pilot,
Okay.
and it's with Triple Horse Studios, who they were the guys that helped produce The Case for Christ.
Okay.
Which was a big faith movie, one of the big blockbusters. It was actually a real movie.
Nice, man. That's what's happening now.
So hopefully, we were going to try to shoot it in February. So hopefully things will pan out, and going to shoot it in Atlanta. And I got, my acting buddies, and they're all ready to do anything, and I just want the pilot to look great, so then I can present it. I don't want to go to. I may end up doing this, but I'd rather not go to Netflix or whomever with a script.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather go with them with a product and say,
that's the way to go now,
here it
man.
is.
That's the way
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it right. Show them what you're talking about. It can only go up from there. Nothing about
Right.
the person selling it in the room and they're like, okay, I still don't see it. It's like, all right, fuck it, here. I got it on video. Watch
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Watch this and you'll get it. Just like you said, Netflix didn't get your stand up, what you were talking about, and then you showed them.
Yes. And then they got it. Finally.
Yeah. And that's what it takes.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you have to show them, and I've been at this so long, no one is happier than Henry Cho.
There you go.
No one's happier.
There you go.
I've been married 22 years.
Yeah.
I got 3 kids that are awesome.
Yeah.
Great kids. I got older kids, and I don't worry about them. I mean, I got a senior in high school going to football games, and I don't worry about where he's going and what he's doing afterwards because he's such a good kid.
Yeah.
I got a junior in college who I don't worry about because he's such a good kid.
Yeah.
My daughter.
This is your son. My dad trusts me.
Yeah. My dad. He didn't care.
Cho.
And my daughter's a freshman in high school, and she's the mom. And my wife's awesome.
You got 4 kids.
3.
Oh, 3 kids. 3.
3.
What are their
2
names
boys.
again?
2 boys and what? I'm sorry?
I want their names.
Jackson, Grant, and Tate.
Yeah, man. Those are Southern names.
Yes, sir.
Those are Southern names right there, damn it.
Yeah, my wife's from Alabama, so what else you going to do?
Dude, okay, now did the Cho bloodline continue with the accent?
Yes, but it's more like mine, less than my wife's. My so here's the thing, when you saw me.
Your wife's is bad, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you saw me on Even at the Improv, that was my true accent. But in 1995, 4 and 5, I hosted Friday Night Videos on NBC.
Yeah.
And the first video I introduced was Aerosmith with Steven Tyler. And Aerosmith with Steven Tyler. So Gary Considine, executive producer of NBC Late Night, comes out of the booth. He goes, I can't understand a word you're saying. He goes, can you try to move your mouth? And I go, all right, I'll try. And I go, all right, coming up next is Aerosmith with Steven Tyler. He's like, no, do it again. All right, coming up next, Aerosmith. He goes, it's Aerosmith. I go, Aerosmith. Aerosmith. So we go through this several minutes, and finally I started moving my mouth and enunciating. So my accent had to evolve into what it is now. And my kids love it because when we go to Alabama to visit their cousins, my kids make fun of them.
That's great.
Yeah. They're like, thank God you don't talk like that, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, my wife.
What about Jackson? Does Jackson got a little twang on him?
Oh yeah, Jackson. They all got accents, but they're like mine. They're not thick. My wife's is thick.
Yeah.
And so is her mom. Oh yeah, their whole family. It's real thick. Yeah.
Are they mixed kids? You gotta what's your...
Yeah, my kids are mixed. My kids are mixed. My dad, he was cool with that because I was the only Asian kid. So you grew up around a lot of Koreans and stuff. I was the only Asian kid from pre-K till I was a senior in high school.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Only Asian kid. So I'll never, my senior year, I'm walking down the hall with my girlfriend who was a blonde cheerleader.
Of course.
Yeah. But and these 2 Vietnamese kids had immigrated.
Yeah.
And I was walking down the hall, and one of them grabbed me and pointed to her and said, "How you do that?"
Yeah,
How do you do that?
How you do that? And I go, I play center field, man. That's how. And he goes, and they go, well, how you do that? I go, yeah.
I can't teach you.
I can't teach you. That was a crazy thing. Here's one for you, Joe. So my first year in college, freshman year, we're playing intramural football.
Yeah.
And I didn't play football in high school because I was too small. but I played baseball and I played basketball, all that stuff. So I'm our quarterback because I've always played quarterback anytime we pick up games and whatever.
Uh-huh.
And we're playing this other team, and the guys were asking my teammates, going, "Is he really the quarterback? Is that guy really going to be the quarterback?" And my buddies are like going, "What do you mean?" They go, "Well, isn't he like Japanese or something?" They go,
Oh, yes.
They go, "No,
Wow,
he's
that sounds cool.
yeah." They go, "No, he's Korean." They go, "He's Korean."
Yeah. And then
And they
what
go,
they say?
They go, "Still, but he's your quarterback." And my buddy goes, "Oh, you don't understand. He's always the quarterback."
Ooh.
And so we get in the first huddle, and my buddies go, "They can't believe you're quarterback because you're Korean." I went, "Excuse me?" I go, "Okay, change the play." I go, bust it long. I'm throwing this thing as far as I can throw it. And I threw like this 50-yard bomb, and we scored a touchdown.
Oh.
And I was running down the field going, "Not bad for a Korean."
I would have loved it if you pointed at the sideline and went, "Arigato."
Got a question for our listeners. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? For example, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I struggle with, and BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start.
I mean, I've never been diagnosed with any type of mental health issues, but I will say there are days when I have questions, and so I need those answered for sure.
With BetterHelp, they'll assess your needs. They're going to match you with a therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas.
One thing I love about it is that you get to talk to someone that doesn't know your past or even knows about you. They just get to listen to you.
Right.
And that's what you need sometimes. Sometimes you just need someone that's not in your circle, not one of your loved ones, not your best friend. Someone with an honest opinion that's willing to take the time to listen to your problems.
Yeah.
I cannot recommend therapy more highly. It's so good to just have somebody to just take a look at what you got going on and give you some tools that you might not already have that can just help you be a happier, more productive person. This BetterHelp is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, so you won't have to be in a waiting room, for example. They're more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials, betterhelp.com/reviews. And visit betterhelp.com/koypond. That's BetterHelp, HELP, .com/
Koypond, KOYPOND.
Yep. And join the other 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp. They're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states.
Use it. If you need mental help, use this. This is the best way to go. No sitting in an office, waiting in the lobby, seeing other people walk out of a room, and now you feel uncomfortable. Driving there is that's a hassle. Now you're in your head again. There's so many things that you can benefit by just doing this right here. It makes it so much easier and so much more accessible.
And there's a special offer for Koy Pond listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/koypond. Try it out, guys. Thanks.
One of my buddies went over to him. They go, "You don't understand. He runs a 4.440. Just so you know. I know that's ethnically impossible, but
Technically impossible. There
Yeah.
you go. There's your show title.
that's it." Well, that's George Lopez's line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's ethnically impossible. But they couldn't believe it. They're like, "Man, you're like fast." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So when I first moved to LA, the very first audition I go in, it wasn't for an Asian guy. So I walk in and there's 20 white guys and me.
Yeah.
And this actor who I recognize go, "Are they going Asian?" And I go, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "They're going guy." They're just going guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. So
That would have been dumb if he was, "Are they going Asian?" You should have looked around and like, why did he say that?
why? Yeah. Well, that was a crazy thing, If you cut from the beginning of time of my stand-up career till now, my audiences are still 70% Caucasian.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. And, unless I'm working in San Francisco or Seattle or LA.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's always been that way. And that was always the thing, as you were saying, because I had another young comedian, Asian comedian. He said, I never knew we were able to act like that. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, just when you were on stage, I'll never get the first time I ever saw you on TV. I went, he's not the sidekick.
Yeah.
He's not the guy over there in the shadows. He's up out front. And I go, see, I never had any of that. I never had any of this. I'm an Asian guy, so I can't do something.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't do something. Because there were no role models. There was nothing. It was just
nothing, bro.
Nothing.
Yep.
My dad always says, you talk like a hillbilly. And I go, well, you didn't raise me in Boston.
Yeah.
You picked Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. You fucked up, Dad.
Yeah. It's your fault.
It's your fault. Hey, can I ask you a question? So, my best friends, they owned a restaurant, right? The three boys would live in the house, and the mom and dad would literally be at that restaurant from about 11 o'clock in the morning until about 2:30 at night.
Right. Every day.
Every day, man.
Every day.
And the fruits of their labor was amazing. They let the kids get whatever they wanted, like motorcycles, the new whatever, ColecoVision, whatever it was, Polo, expensive.
Right.
They were just loaded. Parents were never around, though. When they bought food, it was always at Costco. I didn't even know what Costco was. Costco wasn't even mainstream yet. Like, I just knew, like, this was like, you're going to see food, like big, giant shipments of, like, I remember I walked into their house and they had a box of Frosted Flakes.
That was ginormous.
Yeah, it had 4 bags in it. I was like,
right.
What is this? Are you guys giants? What are you guys? And just everything was massive. But the one thing I loved about their refrigerator is they always brought home meat from the restaurant, not in a Tupperware, but in metal pots. The lid just opened, you just grab bulgogi. And then we'd fry the bulgogi in the wrap. We lived like kings because the parents were never home. But yeah, we're eating steak, bulgogi, kalbi, all this food. But I just want to ask you, because it's the same time, okay?
Okay.
I did, because it's like 86.
Right.
You know what I mean? 87. In the refrigerator was always a big pot. They would take out the middle rack because the pot was that big. And it was filled with kimchi.
Yes.
And the kimchi infected the entire refrigerator. So everything in that refrigerator had a hint of kimchi.
Right.
It even went into the freezer.
It goes into the house. Yeah.
It goes into the house. So if you grab the fudgesicle and you're licking the fudgesicle, and I'm like, hey man, this tastes like frozen kimchi. And my friend would be like, just keep licking. It's gonna turn into fudge. It's gonna turn into fudge, man. Just keep licking.
You gotta get past the layers.
Get past it. You gotta fight for this fudge, man.
That's right. That's funny.
But I want to ask you, because and I bet you a lot of fans want to know this too. Was your house like that? Did your refrigerator? Was it the same? Were you eating the kimchi? Was the refrigerator? Was the refrigerator smelling like kimchi? Like, I just want to know.
My dad always had a jar of kimchi in the fridge.
Yep.
And 3 in the garage.
Yes.
So I used to, once I started getting interested in girls, I would ask them, I go, hey, do I smell funky to you? And they're like, no. And I go, no, I don't mean body odor. Do I smell like peppers or anything? And they're like, no, why? I go, because my dad always smells like that.
Yes.
Because he ate kimchi every day.
Every day.
And then if you sweat, it comes out in your sweat.
Out your pores.
Yeah. Comes out red.
So funny.
Yeah, you can stain a sheet red.
Yeah, you can stain a sheet red.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes me so happy to hear this, that you, because that's always been like in my head. Like, I wonder if Henry Cho lived like my friends William and them, like, because they were so like They were so Americanized, man. They were so far removed, but food,
The kimchi's there.
the kimchi was there, dude.
My dad
I loved it. I loved it.
I didn't eat it. I didn't eat it
Oh,
until
what?
I didn't eat it until probably 10 years ago.
Really?
Seriously. Yeah. I never ate it growing up because I didn't want to smell like my dad.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
it's intense, man.
My sisters would eat it, and but well, you know, my sisters are older than I am, so when they started dating and would have boys over,
Yeah.
I mean, they spent so much time out on the porch, it was ridiculous because they couldn't come in the house because it
Yeah.
smelled like kimchi.
Now, I want people to understand when you're listening to this. Why is Joe asking this particular question just because he's Korean? No, it's not, man. It's not. It's the time that we lived in. It's the generation that we lived in. You also have to understand the situation that Henry lived in.
Right.
He lived in Tennessee, bro.
Right.
Like right now, you can find a seafood city on every corner. You can
Right.
buy
Easily.
kimchi every corner.
Oh, yeah.
His dad is an immigrant from Korea that moved to the States and picked the widest part of the country to raise
Exactly.
his Korean family. And one thing he really loves is kimchi. That's
Right.
his culture. There's nothing wrong with it. That's a very serious question because to him, that's his identity. That's
Oh,
his-
yeah.
That's his life. And I remember, just a fan of my Filipino food. Dude, I remember just like my mom not being able to find a Filipino restaurant. We always had to cook it at home. I used to always ask my mom, like, why are there Korean restaurants? Why are there Chinese restaurants? Why are there Thai restaurants? But we can never go to a Filipino restaurant. She's like, oh, because there are none, Joseph. We have to cook it at home. And it would make me sad. But,
Right.
but that's why I say this, because the kids today don't understand. They don't
No, 'cause-
understand what we went through.
No.
These kids now, these Korean kids, they have kimchi refrigerators now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Specific kimchi refrigerators that keep the scent in and separated and like, yo, what? You can go anywhere and just buy little mini jars of kimchi. Whereas my friends, they had a big clay jar with
It was
with
huge,
a lid.
and it was
huge.
It fermented in the garage.
Fermented in the garage.
Yep.
They don't.
Yep.
These kids don't know, and that's the reason why I'm asking that question,
Right.
because they don't know. Look at Henry. He didn't even want to eat it because he was like, I don't want to fucking smell like you.
I can't smell like my dad.
And growing up in Tennessee, was it hard? I mean, did you fight that battle of trying to hold on to your culture while trying, to somewhat assimilate here in the country?
I'm looking back, I credit my buddy's parents because we weren't the Korean family. We weren't any different. We were just the Chos.
Yeah.
And, my guys I grew up with, they joke all the time. They're going, yeah, he's from Knoxville. They're the Knoxville Chos.
Yeah.
Dope,
man.
So they never treated us any differently. So I didn't know I was different. And
Right.
I didn't know it was weird that I had a Southern accent until I was in college.
Wow.
Me and my buddies went on spring break, and these girls from Michigan thought I was mocking the way my buddies talked.
Hilarious.
Wow.
And they're like, and my
And
buddies going,
They had no idea your buddies were mocking the way you talked.
exactly. And my buddies going, what are y'all laughing about? And I go, yeah, what are you talking about? They go, you do that really well. And I go, what do you mean I do it real well? And they go, the way you're talking. And my buddy's like, well, he always talks that way. And there's I swear to you, this one girl goes, he can't. That's not possible.
Wow.
And I went, excuse me? What ain't possible? And she goes, for real, that's your for real voice. I go, yeah.
See, man?
Yeah.
See?
1985.
That's crazy.
See how we laugh and joke around about it now?
Yeah.
See why it was so important for me to see someone like you on TV to inspire me and to understand that that's the struggle that your parents and yourself went through?
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand that.
They
Especially
don't.
today. They
don't.
get it. Like I always try to explain it, but they don't know. Like me and Dre went to the same high school together.
Yeah.
And of course Dre married my sister. And one thing we had, Dre, growing up in the 80s, Korean friends.
Yeah.
Right.
We had
Right.
Korean friends that knew how to b-boy, baddest b-boys in the city.
Right.
Breakdancing, Korean,
Right.
For sure.
Filipinos, Vietnamese. But when you went on TV, you didn't see it. And it was hard to get inspired. Like, just like you, like, You don't see it on TV, but yet I'm just a quarterback dating a hot chick in high school. So I don't understand why you don't get it.
Right.
It's I'm glad where we are today. And I'm so happy that someone like you were the first one to kick those doors down for me.
Well, hey, I'm glad it worked so far, and you busted through the doors. My daughter showed me something. She goes, "Jo Koy is doing the forum," and I go, "Yeah," and she goes, "Did you ever do the forum?" And I go, "No." I go, "You don't understand. It wasn't even an option back when I was doing shows.
Yeah.
We didn't do big arenas. It wasn't part of the thing. Seinfeld didn't do them. We just didn't do them. It wasn't an option. It wasn't. It just wasn't part of the thing. We just did clubs, and we did a few theaters. And if you got 1,000 people to come, you'd sit there and go, "Holy crap! I had 1,000 people in this theater." So it's a whole different thing now. And my daughter's like, "Well, do you think you'd ever do something like that?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe." I said, "I have to get back out there and grind it and get it out there to do something that big." I said, "Honey, I'm old. I'm tired. I'm living life, and no one's happier."
Would it be cool if when this opens back up, would it be cool if I asked you to just do a nice guest appearance on one of my arena shows, and we'll have your daughter there for that?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Let's go.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Nice.
I will fly you and your daughter out, all expense paid.
Oh man.
And that's my way of saying thank you for fucking blazing the trail, my guy.
Well, I would be honored to do that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I do have and by the way, this is documented, so this is real.
Okay.
And I would love for you, and I would be honored if you were to, man, I'm doing Radio City Music Hall coming up, and I would love for you to grace the stage, man.
I would do anything you want to do. That would be great.
Go. That was awesome. That's an expensive trip, though. I don't know if I can fly your daughter out for that one. But awesome. I do have some personal questions I always wanted to ask you.
Go for it.
Because I was such a student of the game, and I never went to college as well. And I don't know what it was with immigrant parents, but for some reason, when they come to this country, the only thing they want their kids to do is go to college, because in their mind, if you have a degree, you can only be successful.
Right.
But they don't understand that there's this thing called an American dream, and you're allowed to dream here. And that's why I love the country so much, because you can dream for stuff like this.
Right.
Where they're from, you go to Korea, 1986, and say you want to be a stand-up comic. No.
Not happening.
That's not happening. But, we live in a great country where we can do stuff like that. And my college was A&E Evening at the Improv, man. It was on repeat, and then when Comedy Central came out and they were just doing nothing but stand-up on the road and just playing stand-up clips nonstop, I literally would study comics, man. I would literally just watch and just try and figure out, how did they get to that applause within 10 seconds of the first joke? What did he cut out? How did he say this? Like, I would literally not even laugh. I would just study. You were one of them, but like, storytelling was beautiful. And I want to ask you personal questions because there were comics from that era that didn't get to, take it to the next level. If that makes sense.
No. I'm moving because I got to plug in. I'm running low on battery.
Let's do it.
Keep going.
This is what I wanted to ask you. Because
okay,
there was a lot of comics that I was in love with, that I studied, like yourself. I never got to, out of all of them, I got to meet. I got to meet you. I got to meet Schimmel. I got to meet Richard Jenny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was one that I never got to meet. And that was, and I love this guy. And I'm pretty sure you did too. Dennis Wolfberg.
Yep, I knew Wolfberg very well.
Man, just tell me a little bit about him, just so I can just know the inside of the guy, because I never, ever, ever got to even shake his hand or at least tell him thank you. What was he like, man?
Wolfberg. So I worked with Dennis early in the day. I may have even been an MC first time I worked with him, and then I was a middle act. And I'll never forget, he played tennis.
Wow.
So and this is back in the comedy condo days.
Yeah.
So we're comedy condos, and he's like, hey, you play tennis? And I said, yeah, I can hit tennis. Do you want to play? And he goes, yeah. He goes, did you bring a racket? And I said, Dennis, you need to travel with 2 rackets. Because
why would you bring one racket, Dennis?
Yeah, I go, because not everybody's going to have a racket. And he goes,
what are you going to hit off the wall, Dennis?
Yeah. And he goes, wow, that's so smart. Let's go right now. So we went out and got in my truck and went to Kmart, and we bought him another racket.
Oh, that's so
He would
fun.
travel around with 2 rackets, and I'm a big golfer, and so I had golf gloves with no tennis racket. So Dennis used to close his show singing American Pie. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, and no jokes. Just he would sing it.
Wow.
Just
And
beginning
that was
to
his
end.
closer.
The longest song in America known to
And he
man.
would close it. He would close his set with that.
He would
For
close
no
it.
reason. He would just walk into that joke and close. Walk into that song.
Oh,
and
he
close
would
the set.
he would kill for 45
Yeah.
and then play and then sing American Pie.
You're kidding me, man.
No,
Wow.
That just made my day.
it was beautiful. But I'll tell you the kind of guy he was. So he got married late in life,
Yeah.
and then he had a kid named Daniel. He had a son, and he used to walk around all day except when he was on stage with a hat that said Daniel's dad.
Oh, man, now I'm falling in love with this dude.
Yeah, and he was the greatest, had the big eyes, and
Yes.
he taught me about timing.
Yeah.
Because he said, you just did 25 minutes, but you had probably 40 minutes of material, but you're not waiting.
Yeah, man.
You're just
Yep.
blowing through it. And I go, well, I was always told in the middle, you got to go out there and just bust it for 25, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah, but you need to prepare to be a headliner. So, and he taught me this. He said, when you headline, you can't hit them hard after they have seen, if the MC's good, they've laughed their butts off for 15. If the middle does his job, he's busted it for 25.
Yeah.
And now you're going to bust him for 45, 50 straight? You can't do that. It's an ebb and flow. You got to hit him, lay back, hit him, lay back, then close.
Nice.
So he taught me how to close in that way.
That's nice.
By timing and, every time, because we worked together a lot back then.
That's so cool.
Every time I'd walk off stage, he'd go, that was better, or that was great. That was still too fast. And then in the condo at night, he'd go, okay, when you got to here in your act, you got to slow it down because all these jokes are so strong and you're not giving them their due time.
Wow.
And so,
Cool.
yeah, he goes,
I love that.
you would have gotten, 20 applause breaks if you'd let it happen.
Yeah, man.
He goes,
If you just let it breathe.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he taught me that early on. And Daniel's dad.
That's
He's a great
so
guy.
cool.
Greatest
That's
guy.
so cool, man.
Yep.
That was the one question I always wanted to ask, and I'm glad I got to ask you, man. I knew you'd have a story about him.
Yeah. All those guys, man.
I'm so happy that I got to hear that, and I'm so happy that I got to meet one of my idols, bro.
Well,
You are legend, man. You really are. Ahead of your time, trailblazer. Yeah, and you're not done. You know what I mean?
I'm hanging in there.
You're still trailing it, man. You're still trailblazing, man. And I will be honored if you could just do a couple shows with me.
I'll do whatever you want, man. And I'm so glad you're killing it. No,
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud because I'm telling you, the one time we saw each other in person,
Yeah.
and you gave me props right there on the street, and my manager just goes, "Now that is a guy who gets it."
Oh man.
Yeah.
I love you, man. I really
Love
do.
you, man. I'm so happy at everything you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank
And we'll share a stage anytime.
Yes, and I'm so honored that your battery ran out and you went to the bathroom to finish the rest of this pod.
I'm in the bathroom because that's where I keep my chargers.
Hey, interesting choice.
See my chargers? There they are.
Mine are in my office, but I like
Yeah.
keeping him in the bathroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it, man.
That's my phone charger on top of my computer charger.
I love
And did you notice the acoustics got really good?
Yeah, the acoustics got really
We did
good.
notice.
Henry,
yes.
you're the best to do it, and you're still doing it. God bless you and your family. Can't wait for you to share the stage, and you are bringing your daughter, and we're going to do this together.
I love it,
It's going to
man.
be a dream come true for me, and I cannot wait for this to happen.
Let's make it happen. That sounds great. Thanks for having me on.
God bless you, my guy. I love you.
Thank you,
Henry.
Love
Bye,
you.
guys.
See you guys.
Stargates Avenue.